Right, what I'm going to discuss doesn't pertain to most of my audience, but some of you is going to be something you need to hear, right? You may not be ready to hear it now, but you will understand what I'm saying one day, right? If you come from certain places, right, and I know I have an audience in America and in England, right? So for American people, when I say estate culture or street life, so to speak, just think about it as hoods and projects, right? So that's what I'm talking about, right? So you need to separate yourself from estate politics, hood politics, right? It's time to let go of that, right? That had its purpose in your life, it had its time, right? Unfortunately, you were sucked into it by probably someone that didn't know any better either, right? So it's the blind following the blind, right? But it's time for you to let go of that thinking, right? That way of moving. Because really and truly, all of that, as much as you pretend to be, right, is based off of fear, right? You're all moving together in this way because of fear, right? And I know rivalries and gangs can start out of the most simple and smallest stupid things, right? It can even come from school, right? Most of the time these things do stem from school, right? School pride, my school versus your school, right? That's usually what it happens from, right? And it spills over into street politics, right? But at a certain age, after a certain amount of time, hopefully you're not someone that's got yourself too deep into things that are irreversible, right? So chances are, if you're listening to this, you're not someone that's unredeemable. You're not one of those people, right? You've got a good head on your shoulders because you're actually searching and listening, right? So chances are you're not one of them people anyway, right? You're someone that's probably on the tail end of your transition or right on the crux in the middle of it, right? You must let go of that hood mind state, right? That hood politics, that crab in the bucket mentality, that attack and defend, right? I'm not telling you let go of your manhood, right, and your masculinity and your willingness to protect and to conquer, right? What you must do with that energy is transmute it into the real world, right? Because the world that you're living in right now, your ends, your state, your hood, your project is not the real world, right? As much as it's real shit happening, it's not the real world, right? It's not the big boy's game, right? You're not in the grown man's game yet. You're still in the child's game, right? You might even be approaching your 40s and 50s, but someone has to tell you you're still playing the child's game, right? Because you have to understand it like this. If you're someone that's scared of the idea of Illuminati, New World Order, Freemasons, secret societies, right? Government parties and bodies, right? If you're scared and that puts you in conspiracy theory mode, you're not ready to play the big boy's game yet, right? You're still stuck in the child's game. And the reason I say that is this. All men of power, all thinking men that acquire power and influence, understand, and not even just influence and power, information, right? Knowledge and experience. Understand that there is a reason for everything, right? There's a reason for every circumstance. There's a reason they grew up a certain way and their friends grew up a certain way and their environment is structured a certain way, right? Now, I'll break down these things at different times, right? Because it's too intricate, too nuanced, too layered to get into. But on the surface level of it, you need to get away from the idea of these are my ends, this is my postcode, these are my friends, this is my gang, whatever it is, right? That's the other side. Yeah? Get away from that other side mentality, because for a special group of you, yeah, your other side or opposition, your ops are all technically your brothers and sisters, right? They are probably even the same ethnicity as you, right? Probably the same social class as you, probably lived through the same type of experiences as you, right? Your ops, your other side are your brothers, right? They are actually your teammates on the level that you're playing in the game, right? They're actually your colleagues, your associates, your soldiers, your specialists, your generals, what have you, right? They're your team, right? And you don't realise it. That's the big trick and the trap of it all, right? You are, although you may have carried out violence on each other, right? Or although you may be involved in passer and arguments and gossip and he say, she say, right? You're all the same person, right? And as stupid as it sounds, as layman as it sounds, most of these people that are caught in the hood mentality, their state politics and beef, right, are just archetypes, right? And they're archetypes because they're the templates and the ideals that have been set there for them, right? And many of us grew up in this anyway, but we came out of it by understanding, experiencing, having knowledge, or being separated and isolated at some point in time, right? You have to get away from it. And it's easy to say, right, you're just gonna go from, let's say it's Boys in the Hood, right? You're just gonna go from Ice Cube to Sharif overnight. No, you're not, right? Because in the real world, you don't want to be Ice Cube or Sharif, right? And if we're talking paid in full, you don't want to be none of those guys, right? Because even in those Black Hood films, right, and then the Italian Mafia Hood films, right, nobody is the good guy, right? And that's what you need to understand. If nobody is the good guy, right, then you're all on the same team, right? Because the real good guys are the people that are trying to dismantle that whole ideology, that whole environment, and save generations of people from this self-destruction path, right? Yes, crime is real, right? Yes, crime is a resource, right? And it's not just a thing that the poor lean upon, it's a thing that the rich lean upon, right? There's a whole side of the economy that is fueled by the black market, right? And you can deny it as much as you want. All the politicians, all the economists, all of them know that too, right? A good value of the money, income and flow of cash and finance in every country is the black market, and it comes from crime, right? Criminal activity. That's why on a big level it's allowed to continue, right? And it trickles down into your level where you are, right? So you must understand that, right? There are big boy players in it, and wherever you sit on that sliding scale, you'll never be able to come out from underneath it until you get the information, right? It's not as simple as having a wake-up call, because that's just talk, right? Wake-up call. What does that mean, right? Because you can be on the right path now and do the right thing, and then someone could just come along and lick you down anyway, right? Because what does it matter to them? Because they don't know, they don't care, right? So it's a thing where you have to seed in the knowledge, right? Sow good seeds, information, experience, and opportunity, right? Most importantly is opportunity to see and do and be in somewhere new, right? You have to seed that in, right? But I've overcomplicated this, right? Because I know and I'm understanding, I'm fully aware that you can't just tell somebody that's entrenched in something to just get out of it, right? It's like telling a crackhead, stop smoking crack. What's the crackhead going to do? Say, oh yeah, you're right, you know, right? While he smokes crack, right? So I understand it. It's a hook, it's a trap, and it's been set there for many people to fall into, right? But like I said, chances are, if you're listening to me, you're not unredeemable, right? And I don't believe that anyone's unredeemable. Life is subjective, right? Through and through, right? But chances are you've got that spark. Someone sowed that seed in you somewhere down the line that will let you cultivate and bloom into a smarter, more virtuous, conscious person, right? That's why you're watching and listening in the first place. You have to get away from the hood politics. That whole morality, that whole way of living, that whole way of thinking doesn't even belong to you, right? And historically, not to get too deep into race conflict and ethnicity, right? But that ideal, right, of barbarism, essentially, right? That's covered with the veneer of niceness, Gucci and trainers and whips and chains and gold, right? It's still barbarism that's just covered over, right? The essentially, if you understand it, that shit doesn't even belong to you, right? That's not your culture. So the more you know, the more you understand, you're playing a game that's A, rigged, and B, unbeatable, right? So you have to come up out of that kid's world, that child game that you're playing, and get into this big man world where we understand the manipulation and why it's happening, right? Otherwise you'll never be able to change, right? And it doesn't matter how deep in it you might be, even if you've forgiven your enemies, right? All it takes is for one unconscious person to begin the cycle again, right? To come and carry out acts that cause the shit to knock on effect, domino again and again and again and again, for generation and generation and generation and generation, right? So you have to be wiser to remove yourself, right? You've seen the meme with the matchbox, right? And all of the matches are on fire. But once you remove one match, the fire stops, right? You are the match that needs to remove yourself, right? And the fire will potentially stop, right? I know I went about this a long way. I'll get into it in more simplified, direct ways, right? But like I say, you need to get out of the hood politics mindset, right? And even I am treading lightly on it right now, the way I'm speaking, the way I'm not addressing it how I would like to, right? Because I'm aware of the internet and what could potentially be, right? So understand what I'm saying, right? In a very layman's way, right? Start to remove yourself from these people around you that are too deeply entrenched in the street shit and debauchery and drugs and alcohol and just woe is me-ism, right? There's a lot of men are out here depressed, right? And they don't know that they're depressed. That's why they're moving the way they're moving. And their friends are depressed. They've got fucking PTSD and trauma and been abused and abused people themselves, right? All of that is happening around you. So you need to educate yourself and move yourself, right? Then you can begin to heal. Then you can begin to help other people, right?